Hi, this is John Holl, the editor at All About Beer. A few quick programming notes about our podcasts. As you might have noticed, the All About Beer podcast, which is hosted by Don Tess and M. Souter, is now a monthly show. We're airing that on the first Monday of each month, and you'll want to tune into April's show, and all of them for that matter, because it goes deep on beloved styles made by beloved breweries. Brewer to Brewer is now a weekly show airing every Thursday, and there's a great group of brewer guests and hosts coming up that get into really important topics. And starting next week, we're pleased to bring you a new monthly show hosted by Jeff Alworth called One Iconic Beer. And Jeff Alworth joins me now. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, John.
I want to talk about this new podcast in a minute, but first, I feel like for those who are unaware of your resume, we should get into that a little bit because of all the writers that are out there these days, I feel like you are uniquely situated to be doing a podcast like One Iconic Beer. And it's come with 20 years of blogging on Beervana. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And your many books that you've done, including the two editions of the Beer Bible. But just talk a little bit about your experience and how this podcast kind of dovetails into that. Because I feel like you're the guy who dives into all aspects of a beer in such a meaningful way that even the rest of us hardened beer geeks now and again are like, all right, like, cool, man.
Well, it comes out of my wonderful opportunity to travel throughout Europe for writing the Beer Bible. When I drew up my wish list of all the breweries that I wanted to see to write this compendium that was supposedly a comprehensive guide to beer. And amazingly, almost all of them said yes. And so I was able to go to these just extraordinary breweries and hang out with the master brewers and listen to them tell the stories of their beers. And, these are beers like Saison DuPont and Fuller's ESB and Schlinkerla Rauchmerzen.
Mm,
We have to have we have to have a mention of Rauch beer, of
of
course.
course, I know. Yeah. Way to pander.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And it really settled into my bones how these what we think of as style can in often cases be traced back to a single brewery where either the beer was invented or that it's kind of become iconic at that brewery. And I got to listen to the brewers talk about how they make those beers, and it just became a part of the way I think about beer. And so taking that up, not everybody has the chance to go to all the great breweries in the world, but I have had that fortune, and so laundering that forward into one iconic beer, we will do a little bit of that same process of talking about the beer and how it's made and how people drink it and why it evolved into the beer that it is. All those pieces to kind of get a sense of these pieces of cultural history.
So episode one features Allagash White, kicking it off with a New England classic that has certainly made waves both here in the U.S. and abroad. That episode is done. It's going to appear on Monday for everybody to listen to. But having had the conversations for that podcast and now having a little bit of time away from it, what were some of the takeaways? What's one or two good takeaways that you had that surprised you about this beer?
Well, we talked to Rob Todd at Allagash, of course, and we talked to Stan Hieronymus, who wrote the book Brewing with Wheat,
He did.
in which he tells the story of wheat beer in a more complete way. And so we got kind of a history of wheat beer, and then Rob's interpretation of that in Maine and how he has created a Maine wheat beer that is in many ways the most iconic version of wheat beer made in the world, and how we got from a spontaneously fermented weird beer from Hoegaarden, this tiny little village outside of Brussels, to Portland, Maine is a really interesting story. And I think both of those two guys do a great job of kind of putting in all that connective tissue.
I agree with that. So as you start to think about this show in general, right? One iconic beer, you and I have talked about this a little bit, but just from your perspective, like what makes an iconic beer?
From my perspective, this project grew out of a series on my blog called "The Making of a Classic," and in that project and in this project, what I think of as iconic is a beer that defines a, a a brewing idiom, more even more than a style. So a way of thinking about beer that really has defined a style for, you know, define the whole style. It's the referent beer that everybody else looks to when they make that. They may not make a copy of it. In fact, they may probably do make something that's different because why would you remake Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, right? Like, if you're going to make a pale ale, you want to make something slightly different. But it's the referent. Everyone knows when you drink a pale ale, it's sort of in the back of your mind. Sierra Nevada is right there, and that's what an iconic beer is. And in this podcast, we're going to dig in to each one of these beers and find out why are they iconic and what makes them iconic.
I like that. Well, the show premieres on March 16th. It's a Monday. And then it'll be the third Monday of each month going forward. And I'm excited about this. We have the first two ready to go, and this is this is exactly the type of coverage, All About Beer has been doing for a really long time. And in a way, this is sort of a return for you. You did your old podcast as part of the All About Beer podcast network way, way, way back in the day, and then became more successful when you left. But um
You
I'm
made me
glad.
what I am today, John.
Oh, stop it. I'm glad you're doing this, and I'm excited for people to be listening in.
Well, while we're offering praise, I would like everyone to know that you're actually a big part of this podcast, and your voice isn't heard on the podcast, but you have agreed to edit and produce a fairly ambitious podcast that involves a lot of editing, and I really appreciate your support on that front. I consider this a collaboration, and because we may not mention that all the time, uh, at least now we can acknowledge your role in all of this and let everybody know how important you are to this podcast.
That's very, very kind. Um, Thanks, Jeff.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think it's going to be fun.
As always, we invite you to visit allaboutbeer.com. If you'd like to learn more about advertising on any of our shows, including Jeff's, please reach out to me at John Holl at allaboutbeer.com. That's JOHNHOLL at allaboutbeer.com. If you're able to support our original work, please visit allaboutbeer.com/support. Drink Beer, Think Beer will still have original episodes every Wednesday, so please tune into that. And really, thank you for your support of All About Beer and all of our shows. We work hard to bring you top-notch content, and we're grateful for your time. We're always looking for topic and guest suggestions, so please be in touch, and we hope you'll enjoy all that we have coming up.